Hello there, this is Kristen Gars with INSZoom. Thank you for joining us today on our webinar. The topic today is going to be building effective ad hoc reports. As we get started today, I'm going to go ahead and go through a very short PowerPoint presentation. It's very short, and I will send it to you at the conclusion of this webinar. And then I will go through in the system and show you how to build an ad hoc report. All right, so getting started, what is an ad hoc report? The ad hoc report feature in INSZoom allows you to create your own report template based on the fields you want to extract out of INSZoom. It's a way of capturing your data and building the report to pull the information that you require. The below two columns are key items while creating an ad hoc report. You will have input columns and output columns. Input columns act as a filter to get your output results. It is similar to a Google search. You're basically telling the system what you want it to go look for. Output columns retrieves the information from the corporation level, the client level, and the case level, and then it provides the data to you and displays it as you want to see it. For example, if you need to extract client information from INSZoom, your input could be applicant open date, and the output can be applicant's first name or last name, or both. You probably need both. Ad hoc report setup, and we are going to go through this in the system. So this will just give you a quick overview. You can use this PowerPoint in the future to reference it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do it in real time. Steps 1 and 2. Let's start creating an ad hoc report. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click on the Reports tab when you're in the system. And then once you are in the report section, over on the left-hand side towards the bottom is a section for ad hoc reports. So you want to click on that. And you're going to need to make sure that you have access to the ad hoc reports, or you have admin rights to reports. If you don't, you may not see this, or you may not be able to actually create your own report. So if you're not certain, I mean, just go have a look. But if you don't see it and you have trouble, get with your super user at your firm, and they can give you the access rights. Okay, so steps 3 and 4. Once you click on ad hoc reports, you're going to have another screen, and it'll show you all the ones in the system if you have any. If not, the first thing you want to do is click on Add Template, and that will begin the process of creating the new ad hoc report. And the first couple of steps that you need to take is to name the template, and I always recommend putting in a template description. That's just for simplicity. If you have multiple users in the system and people are wanting to create reports, if you actually have a template description, it will provide people some information as to what they can obtain with the report. And this will help reduce the amount of duplicate ad hoc reports that get created. So, for example, if I was doing a case manager caseload report in my template description, I would put this report is a case manager caseload report, and the outputs are, and then I would list them all out. That way, when you're going through, you can quickly see on the ad hoc report page what each report will provide to you. It kind of takes a little bit of time. You don't have to click on each one and kind of look at it and see what you can get. All right, and once you have named the report, then you'll get this view that's up here on this top screenshot. So the first thing you want to click on is link, unlink the columns. And once you click on that, in the second screenshot, you can kind of see very briefly what information you have to choose from. And again, these are your inputs. Now an input, like I mentioned in the beginning, is you're telling the system what you want it to go look for. So if you are pulling a case manager caseload report, you would want the system to go look for case managers. So you can, if you're wanting to pull a report for yourself, you want to be able to choose just your name so you can pull just your report. You may also wish to have a input of case status. That way you can choose, you can tell the system, go look for all open cases for Kristen Gauze. That way I know that what I'm getting is a report of all of my open cases. And another one might be like case active. So active cases that are open for Kristen Gauze. That would be the input. And then one key thing I like to tell people with input columns is you don't want to have too many because you're filtering out the information. So the more you have, the less likely you're going to have a good return. Outputs, it works the same way. So you click link, unlink, and then you decide what it is that you want to have displayed. So for example, if I am pulling a report of all of my active open cases so I can kind of better manage my caseload, my outputs would be corporation name, foreign national first name, foreign national last name, case description, is the case open, last case step completed, and that would give me an idea of my caseload. Okay, so we're going to skip over the questions for right now because what we're going to do is we're going to go in and build a report. So I am in our system. I've logged in. This is our little dummy system. And up here at the top, we have reports. So I'll take you through the same process. So you click on reports, and then over here on the left-hand side, you're going to want to click on ad hoc reports. And the page is going to load. And for those of you who are signing in right now and joining us, this training will be provided. I am recording it right now, and I do have a PowerPoint that I just went over. And so at the conclusion of today's webinar, I will email out the link to the recording along with the PowerPoint presentation. So if you missed the very beginning, I'll make sure that you have the information and you can review it at your leisure. It won't be this is going to be a pretty short webinar because these are pretty simple items to do. Okay, so I clicked over here on the left-hand side on ad hoc reports. All right, and then up here to do a new one, I'm going to click on add template. Okay, so now you need to create the name. And I do recommend a very specific naming convention. Again, you know, better you name things, the more exact you are and detailed, the easier it will be for you going forward and those that you work with. So let's create a expiration report. All right, and then again, you want to give it a description so people know what it is. Okay. And then down here towards the bottom, you can see that you have some questions. You have some drop downs. So the first one is access for corporation. And the reason why they're asking you these questions right now while you're creating the template is you can leave these as no. And if your corporation is using the corporation or additional contact portal, because we have the portals and the four national portals, but the corporations, if they log in, they can actually run their own reports. So you can build specific reports for a corporation. So if you are doing work for maybe, for example, Xerox or something, and they're very active in using the system, they log into the corporation portal, maybe they'd like to pull their own corporation expiration report, then you would want to click on yes. That way you can go and grant them access to the report, and then they can run it themselves. It's the same question for HQ. So if you're using INSZoom's Enterprise Edition, which is what I'm using right now, you can see over here in the top right-hand corner, I'm using Enterprise. If you use Enterprise Edition, we have a feature called the Headquarters feature. So if you have a moving company, something like Serva, a lot of people have heard of Serva, so they're a global relocation company, and they provide, you know, relocation services. And if you're providing services to Serva, then you're going to, or any other global mobility company, you'll be working with several corporations. So those corporations are standalone. You know, you're going to provide services to each of them, but SERVA is how that information came to you. So if you wanted to pull a report for SERVA, if you don't want to pull 20 different reports for all of these corporations, then you can create SERVA as a headquarter, and all of your corporations can then be linked to the headquarter. That allows you to pull a headquarter report, which pulls together the information for all those companies. It's a super, super feature if you do any type of work for a global relocation company or somebody else who's bringing services to you. It really helps keeping you from having to pull a lot of reports and then merging them all together. So that's the HQ feature, but also they can log in, just like with the corporation portal, and pull their own report. And then for the bottom one, it is access for vendors. And if you are using a vendor, outside counsel, maybe they're assisting you, you do have the option to get them a vendor license. So it does cost the same as your user license, but they can then access INSZoom. It is similar to the case manager portal, so it's similar to what you actually see, but it is limited. But you can grant them access as well to run their own report. So you can decide if you want to grant access to those different portals. If you don't know, you can leave them as no. You can always come back later and update it. Okay, so now that we've named our template, now we have to create the columns. So we're going to do the input column. So you click input, output, or excuse me, link, unlink. Let me move this over so it's not so busy. Make it bigger. All right, and now you're going to choose your inputs. So if we're creating an expiration report, what I would want the system to do is go look for cases that are active. So you scroll down until you find case active. All right, and the other thing I would want to look for is case status. And case status is what is open, closed, or approved. Okay, and again, however you use the system within your requirements is how you're going to build your reports. But this is just an idea. So input, I want active cases, and I want to be able to choose open, closed, or approved. All right, so we hit save. All right, and then we need to come up with the output columns. Now, what do we want to see on an expiration report? Well, the first thing I personally would want to see is the corporation's name. And then I would want to see my foreign national. Okay, so we list those folks in here as client. So we're going to choose client first name, client last name, and then I would want to see case description. So you just keep scrolling. There's a lot of options. It can be overwhelming. If you don't want to scroll through here, you can type it in here. So I'm just going to type in case descript, and then I click on find. There's case description, and then you hit show all, and then they all come back. Okay, again, expiration report. So corporation name, first name, last name, case description. I'm going to want to know the case status, so that way I can confirm the information on my report. Is the case actually open, closed, or approved? So I'm going to hit status, and I always like to have active on there. I don't know, I'm one of those. I prefer to have, you know, very detailed information, and you can delete the columns once you pull the report if you don't need them. And it's an expiration report, so we want case valid to date. So we're going to go look for that. All right, and then we're going to click Save. All right, so now we have the outputs. And let's view our report, and that's going to take us to this screen here, and now we can actually go ahead and run our report. So I'm going to pull an expiration report for everybody in my system. Yes, I want them to be active, And what that means is active or inactive. Once your cases are done, you're not tracking them anymore, hopefully you go back and make those cases inactive. That way you can make sure the data that you pull is accurate. So yeah, I want all active cases, and then maybe you mark your cases approved, maybe you mark them as closed. If you actually hold down the control button, you can select 2 items at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for active cases that are marked approved or closed, and then you hit Get Report. And now the system is going to go look for every single thing that I have. All right, and then I'm going to click I want it as an Excel because a text file isn't helpful for me. And then we're going to open it up. And here's my really basic report because we don't have a lot in our little test environment. And somehow my columns got rearranged here. I don't know what I did. I'll have to go look at that. But we have corporation over here. We have first name. So let's actually go fix that. That's a good thing for me to show you how to do. All right, so I'm going to hit Edit Template. This will help me or allow me to change things. All right, so you can resequence your columns. So that's what I'm going to do. So I click that button, and now I get this window. So I can change the order. So for me, corporation needs to be number 1, first name number 2, last name should be number 3, case description should be 4, status 5, six, and 7. Okay, so we hit save. Okay, now it's going to load. All right. And another item you can do, this is kind of a cool feature. If you hit customize your column name, you can actually rename the output columns. I find that this feature is very helpful when you're building a corporation-specific report. You can kind of use their terminology if you're providing a report to your client. So maybe, most of us don't say, what's the case valid to date? We say, what's the expiration date? So you can change the output column to say expiration date. And we'll hit save. And my resequencing columns is never, I have, in 8 years of using this, I've never had this problem. So it's not saving what I want it to do. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to run our report again. Now that we've resequenced and renamed the columns, we're going to run it again. And as you start becoming more familiar with these ad hoc reports and building them, you will create them and kind of run them, check the columns, make sure it has what you want. There's a little bit of trial and error when you're getting started with them until you kind of become more comfortable with the fields that it is that you want to use. So you can see here we have corporation is first, client first name, last name, case description, case status, case active, and then expiration date. Remember, we changed the name of this output column, so it's fixed it for us. I don't have to now change it on all of my reports going forward. If you do change the name of an output column, please remember what you're doing, because sometimes you'll forget that you changed the name of it, and one day you'll be in here and need to update something, and you'll be searching for the output expiration date, and you finally realize that one doesn't exist. It's because it's called valid to date, and you changed the name. So that's what it looks like. It's super easy to do. Ad hoc reports are very, very simple to create and edit. So I'm going to click Ad hoc Report again so I can go back to the beginning. And I'll show you the ones that I created for you prior to today's call that will give you some ideas of how to build it. So here's my expiration report that I created earlier today, just like the one that we just created, except I have on here case manager receiving reminder. This is helpful, especially if you're pulling a firm-wide report. You want to know who is the case manager on that particular case. I arrowed back. I should hit Adhoc Reports. The other one that I created to show you was case status report for a particular corporation. So this is super. Let's look at the template real quick so you can kind of see what I chose. And for a corporation report, I chose, obviously, corporation. You do have the option to pull all corporations. You also have the option to choose a particular corporation so that you could, if you have client reports that are required, you can pull that specific for the particular corporation. And then the status. Again, and you may want to include active, case active. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plop that in there. You can see how easy it is to do this. So we're going to add active. That way I'm not pulling inactive cases. Once you close something, make it inactive, you don't want to mess with that anymore. All right, and so for my output columns, we have corporation, we have first name, last name, main contact. Now, main contact, if you do a lot of work with corporations and then, you're working with their dependents as well, you may want to know when you pull the report, is that individual the main contact? So that would be the foreign national that's employed by your company, or is it a dependent? If they are the main foreign national, then this field actually will say yes when you pull the report. So that will help you understand what you're looking at. Case description, case status, the date it was open, case step description, and case step completed date. There's a lot of options with regards to output, lots and lots of fields. So you could have the most detailed, crazy report ever with lots of outputs. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let's choose a specific corporation. So I'm going to choose Consumer Enterprise. That's my fake company. And I want to look at all of their active cases. So I'm going to look at everything that's open, approved, and closed, but yes, it does need to be active. All right, and then I'm going to click on Get Report. All right, it opens up in another screen. Click on Excel. And we open it up. Here it comes, and here we go. So we have, at the top, here's the columns that we have, and you can see we have corporation, first name, last name. Yes, they're the main contact because this is my employee. Down here where it says no for this guy, well, that's because I have him as a dependent. And don't look at my cases, obviously. My cases and my person being a dependent, they don't really match up. But and then we have case status. So these are all open cases. If you keep scrolling, you can see we have closed cases, case open date. And in this particular report, I have included case description, case step description. So that's why you see Daniel Bowen's name so many times, is because it pulls, he is on here for every single case step. And then case step completed. Now there's no date here because none of his case steps have been marked as completed. But if you come down to Matt Chang, you can see his case step, follow-up with clients on questionnaires, was marked as completed on March the 16th. So again, you will need to go through and look at all of those outputs and decide what it is that you want. You can have as many outputs as you want. It doesn't make any difference. I think there's a limit of possibly 50 or 100. I don't know why anybody would want that many because it would be unbelievably huge and especially hard to deal with. But you can have as many as you want. It's your input fields. You don't want to have too many because you'll just narrow down and filter out so much info, you're not going to get a good picture of what you're looking for. So I'm going to close that. And then we're going to go back to Adhoc Reports. And I'm going to show you the case manager caseload report that I created. So again, let's go look at the template. And so for this one, I chose case manager and case status. Again, that's open, closed, or approved. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add in case active because I just don't want to deal with any of those things that are inactive. I don't want to pull a report and have to delete it. So let's make our report really good. Okay. Then for our outputs on my case manager case load report, I have asked for the name of the corporation. If your person is not working for a corporation, they will appear on your report under individual. So you can leave this output here if you'd like. And then you have first name, last name. I want case status, case description, who's the case manager receiving the reminder, just to make sure they're mine. Case step name, the step number, case step status, and the case step completed date. Those are the things I'd like to see. And again, if you want to rename the column to match your terminology, you absolutely can. You just click on Customize Column Name. So we're going to hit View Report. All right. Now I'm going to choose my name. I want to see all Kristen Gause's open cases that are active. All right. And then if this is, you want to create these for people, this little box here says check here to save report input criteria. So I check it, and then it'll say, do you want to name this? So I'm going to say Kristen's caseload report. All right, and then you hit Get Report. And I will come back in just a second and show you how that saves. So, all right. Here's my report. Let's open it up. Okay, so let's have a look here. We have, here's the reports. We have corporations, we have names, case status. These are all open. Here's the description. Here's the people receiving the reminders. If you don't want everybody to kind of be on here, make sure you have, if you want to see just your case volume, that you're the only person marked on your cases as the case manager receiving the reminder. Case step name, the number, the status. Not started means I haven't marked it yet as complete. Okay, the ones that are complete, they get changed to completed, and then they have a date that they were marked completed. So pretty simple. There's a lot. If you don't want to see all of this and you just want to see what your cases are, I recommend getting rid of the case step description field. Just go with case description here, not the steps. It's the steps. That's why this report is so large. So we're going to close that. Okay. So if you recall, we marked this little box earlier, and I called it Kristen's caseload report, and it saves that information, my input criteria. So you can see there's an extra box up here now. It says report input criteria. All right, and I can go ahead and choose Kristen's caseload report. If maybe Arun wants to create his own report, but Arun wants to see everything, then we do this again, and we do it for him. Arun's caseload report. Okay, and then you hit Get Report. Arun has been using the system a lot longer than I have, and I've just asked for all of these types of cases. So it's going to take just a few more seconds, because the more data you're trying to obtain, the longer it will take the report to load. Just remember that, especially if, like, at the end of the year, your firm says, how many cases have we worked on for the entire year? And you go and you pull a report, and you have the input cases open between January 1st, 2016 and December 31st, 2016, and you pull that report, it might take 5 minutes because you are asking the system to go and pull thousands of cases for you. All right, so this is the case. It's showing all of the cases that Arun is marked on. We're going to get out of that screen, but you can see now at the top that it saved the input criteria. All right, so that is it. That is our quick little training on how to build effective ad hoc reports. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. I do see that some people had some difficulty joining. That would be a GoToWebinar issue. I did have to click the button myself today 2 times. So I do apologize for that. Normally GoToWebinar is very, very good and efficient, so I'm not really sure why a few of us kind of struggled with that. But I am recording this. I will put it on YouTube, and I will email out that quick little presentation today along with the link to the recording. And somebody did ask the question, if we generate ad hoc reports, same time data affected, I'm not really sure what the question is for that, but if you do create an ad hoc report and you pull the data, there is going to be, for certain fields, a 24-hour delay. So if you go through all of your cases today, maybe you had a whole bunch of approvals and you update your cases and you mark them all as approved, you will have to pull that report tomorrow in order for it to reflect today's changes. I hope that's clear, but there is usually a it's not all the fields, but for the most part, the majority of the fields, there's a 24-hour delay. So I don't have any other questions. I hope that this was helpful to you, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. I like working with you all. And also, when I send you the email, if you have any suggestions or requests for future trainings, I'm working on putting together the webinar for March. Let me know what you'd like to learn more about. That would be very helpful for me in creating training that you guys think is useful. Thank you. Everybody have a good afternoon.